So today I wanted to chat to you guys about 0 hour employees, because I'm sure you all have 0 hour employees, and we continue to get really regular questions about and regular confusion in conversations that we have with our clients about situations when it comes to 0 hour employees. So in one way, I feel like we've done this to death. And if it's really boring for you, I'm so sorry. But on the other hand, we continue to just see some confusion from our clients about this. So the basics of 0 hour contract. So first of all, 0 hour employees are employees with employee rights. They are not contractors. Even if you call them casuals, they are 0 hour employees. So if you have people who you call by the very old school name of casuals, which is fine, a lot of businesses still do, remember that what we used as casuals 10 and 15 years ago and 20 years ago doesn't exist anymore. That is not legal anymore. You can't be doing that. You can't be having people that you just pay cash in hand, or just, I don't know, they come to work when you tell them to and you pay them, but there's no rules and there's no contract and stuff. That is illegal. You can't do that anymore. Okay.
Yeah, we know that.
So if you have employees who you refer to as casuals or 0 hour workers or any of those kind of terms, they are generally employees who are on a 0 hour contract or should be. Now, the contract, what are the ins and outs of a 0 hour contract? So the one thing that makes it really different to anything else and is why we want to use it is the flexibility of not having to give hours. Say that's what it says on the tin, 0 hours guaranteed, right? But the bit that a lot of our clients forget is that's a two-way street. That's why this contract is also appealing to a lot of employees, because what this means is that you have no obligation to give them hours or offer them work. You do that as and when you need them. They have no obligation to accept your work because realistically, they might already be working somewhere else on that day. Or they might have a period of time when they're not working. They might not work during summer school holidays, for example, things like that. So that's important to remember. It's a two-way street. It's not the situation where a lot of our clients go wrong and they think that I don't have to give you hours as an employer. I use you when I need you, but you have to be there when I want you. Doesn't work that way. That's not what this contract's for. There is no contract that does that, by the way. So the important way to think about this is you need to check availability. That's important with 0 hour staff. And that is the bit that a lot of our clients are missing, checking availability. So what you're doing, or what your F&B managers might be doing, is they are sending out a rota and then they're getting pushback and they're getting like, oh, I'm not available on that day. Oh, I can't do that day. Oh, I'm not working right now. All of those things. And then they get frustrated with these employees. And that's when I get these conversations like, we want to get rid of them because they never take any shifts, blah, 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 and they're not available for work. When actually a better way to handle and manage this is to check availability on a regular basis and have a way in which you do that. For example, on a weekly basis or, a few days before you do the rota, something should be sent out to say to all your 0 hour staff to say, I'm doing the rota next Monday, or we're issuing the rota next week. Let me know now what your availability is for the next month. That avoids the whole thing where the rota is created, they come back, they say they can't do it, or even worse, they don't respond at all until 5 days before and then go, no, I'm not available that day. It avoids all of that frustration for the employer and kind of lack of engagement from the employee in the situation, right? So the other things to remember, holiday. Now, holiday can be managed in a number of different ways for zero-hour employees, but the majority of our clients are paying out holiday for zero-hour employees on a monthly basis using the 12.07% method. Okay? Really simple. Hours worked times 12.07%. You add that amount that you get there is what they would have accrued in holiday. You add the accrued holiday to their pay. You pay them out for it on a monthly basis. What that means is when they want to take holiday, all they do is tell you they are not available for work. They don't have to book holiday. They don't have to request holiday. They don't have to have holiday available in order to take holiday. They have already accrued and been paid for their holiday, and their contract gives them the right to be available for work or not be available for work.
So how do you work holiday out then? I don't understand that.
What do you mean? How do you work out how much holiday they get?
Yeah, because if they're working flexible hours and set flexible days, how can you work a holiday out?
So how you would do that is you would look at the hours that they've worked on a monthly basis. Most of our clients pay their staff monthly. So you would, when you do the payroll, you'd look at the hours they've worked that month, and you would times that by 12.07%. That will give you the amount of holiday they've accrued based on the hours that they've worked in that month. And then you add that payment to their payroll. So
every month?
Yes. So they are paid out for their holiday on a monthly basis. That means you are never in a position where you owe a holiday, an employee 6 months worth of holiday, they've accrued it and they need to take it like you would be for a part-time or a full-time employee. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that can fluctuate greatly though, couldn't it?
It does, yes. It does, because in some months they might not work at all. Obviously, then there's nothing. In some months they might work 1 or 2 shifts. Busy Christmas, they might work 15 shifts. So that's why it's good to do it on a monthly basis, because if you are trying to do this every 3 or 6 or 12 months, and then you have a situation where you actually have to go back and process all of that data in order for it to be accurate. So it's easier to do it as you go along. And that way, when you're processing things like levers and that kind of thing, you're not going back and going, oh, I've overpaid you already, or I owe you this much, or you've taken this much. There's none of that for zero-hour staff, which is very complicated to do if you did it that way, because their hours fluctuate so much.
So you multiply that figure by 12.0%.
Yeah.
And that gives you the figure you have to pay them. Okay.
That will give you the hours accrued, and you add that to their payroll.
Is that the hours or the money?
I'm sure it doesn't matter whether you do it with the money or with the hours. I'm sure you're going to come to the same thing. When we're explaining it, we're usually saying to do it with the hours, but I'm sure if you translated it, it'd probably come to the same number. I don't know if the other two, you both have 0-hour staff. Are you doing it on numbers or on salary or on hours?
Neither.
Sorry, I'm asking Lorraine and Steve because they both have 0-hour staff.
Right. We do it based on hours, but we just pay the holiday each month.
Yeah.
I haven't got any 0-hour staff.
Okay. So this is a very boring afternoon for you, Steve. I'm really sorry.
Well, it is. And to be honest with you, it's 7 minutes. I've got to leave anyway because I've got a meal to go to. It's that time of year we're doing thank you meals for all our volunteers and such like. So I'm going to go and have my.
Don't feel like you have to stay on for today's call.
No, I'll listen for a bit, but I've got to go and have my 7th Christmas dinner so far this month.
You must be sick of turkey by the 1st of December. Okay, so that's holiday. So in terms of rest breaks, this is the other one where we don't see the question so much anymore, but we used to see this question all the time. Do we pay 0-hour people for their rest breaks? Yes, you do. In short, yes, you do. If you pay other staff for their rest breaks, then you pay 0-hour staff. If you don't pay your other staff, then you don't pay your 0-hour staff. That's the rule. You don't pay your staff for their breaks and not pay your 0-hour staff. That's a problem. So whether you pay or not pay depends on whether you pay or not pay the rest of the staff, in short. They are eligible for maternity. They are eligible for sick pay. They are eligible for, other sort of related time off things like time off for dependents and that kind of thing. Now, I often get this question about sick pay, time off for dependents. But if they don't have to be available for work, if they call in sick, does that mean I don't have to pay them? No, it doesn't, because once the shift is accepted by a 0-hour employee, or once a 0-hour employee has confirmed to you that they're available and they can do that shift, so yeah, the shift's accepted, the rules then start to apply to that. So if they are then a no-show for that shift, they'll be disciplined for that. If they are late for that shift, they'll be disciplined for that. They can't just tell you the day before, oh, I can't no longer do that shift. No. You've accepted the shift. Discipline will happen if you do that. But in the same way, they are then eligible for sick pay. So if they called in sick on that day for the shift that they had accepted, they would be eligible for sick pay if it applies. Obviously, if it's day one and waiting days, right? And the same goes for time off for dependents. If Susie calls in the morning at 7 o'clock and says, I can't do my 9 o'clock start shift today because my child is sick and I couldn't drop her off at the nursery, that is time off for dependents, and they are entitled to that just like any other employee. And that goes for other kind of benefits that you have, that is things like compassionate leave and stuff like that. They have protection from unfair dismissal after 2 years, just like any other person. And they have the right to work elsewhere. So if you're using one of our contracts, you will know that your 0-hour contract does not include the other work clause as your salary, as your full-time or part-time contracts would. So your part-time and your full-time employees, there's an other work clause in your contract. That means that employees have to ask you for permission to take a second job. You can't really turn them down if you don't have a very good reason, but they have to at least ask you and inform you. 0-hour employees, it is assumed that they have more than one 0-hour job. They are piece workers. They have piece jobs everywhere. So it is assumed that they do, and their contract therefore gives them the right to have that. So that's the other thing to remember. We often get people say, oh, but she works in the shop in town, and so she turns down our shifts because she's working in the shop in town. Yeah. Okay. So, I guess maybe they pay her more, or maybe their rota was out before yours, or, maybe it's easier for her for childcare. There's a number of reasons why she might be turning your shift down to do that shift, but she has a right to do that. Okay? So, things you can deal with. You can deal with no-shows. You can deal with lateness. You can deal with conduct issues. You can deal with performance issues. So they still need to adhere to health and safety. They need to adhere to policies. They are an employee like everyone else. So that's the other thing to remember. They're not, it's not a question that you can't deal with issues. You can deal with issues just like you would with any other employee. What you can't do, penalize them for declining shifts. You can't punish them by reducing the shifts you give them because they weren't available 2 weeks ago for a shift. And we actually really see that. We see managers going, oh, well, I won't give you any shifts then in the future. Can't actually do that. Legally, you can't do that.
Nadia, sorry. I'm just going to say goodbye. I've got to go and have my Christmas dinner.
Enjoy your turkey.
Thank you very much. Cheers,
right.
Everyone.
Bye. And you cannot discipline them for having other jobs. And you also should not have them on a regular rolling rota. That's really important. 0-hour staff shouldn't be on that rota where they're working every Wednesday evening, every Friday evening, and every Saturday day shift. And that's their standard rota, because that takes away their availability, the availability part of their contract. So they shouldn't be on a rolling rota like that. If they are a part-time employee and you've got them on the wrong contract. And they should also not be promised regular work verbally. So you shouldn't employ them as a 0-hour employee, but promise them you'll give them 3 shifts a week. It's the same thing. Just because it's not written down doesn't mean it didn't happen. So, again, you've got them on the wrong contract. So there's some do's and don'ts and some things, weird questions we get about 0-hour contracts. Is there anything that you might have a question about that I haven't covered?
Yeah, Nadia, just from me. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Just with 0-hour contracts, when in the past we've issued, for like our seasonal staff coming back, we've offered a fixed term contract. So I would do it like for 3 or 4 months on the 0-hour and casual.
Yeah.
Is there any, sometimes you get the occasion where the manager says, I want them for another 2 months or whatever, and you extend it. Is there a maximum amount that you should extend it by? Can I keep on extending it if needed, or what's the limits then?
It's a really good question, actually. So first of all, they are totally okay, and I am really in favour of those types of contracts for seasonal workers. If you've got people who are coming to work in the summer, work in your busy periods at a golf club, work over Christmas, and then you don't need them for January till April. You want them off your books, to be honest. So I'm really in favour of those contracts that are like block contracts, I call them, because that's how it sounds good in my head. But yes, they are fixed term 0-hour contracts. They can be extended. You just need to make sure you do it in writing, and you need to make sure that you stipulate a few things when you do that in writing. You need to make sure that you stipulate the end date. So you need to say, your contract was due to end on the, 20th of December, but actually we need you until the 20th of January. So your contract has been extended by 1 month to the 20th of January. All other terms and conditions remain the same. So that's really important to stipulate that nothing else is changing in the contract, and a time frame is changing, and exactly how the time frame is changing.
Okay.
Remember, you still need to give someone on a 0-hour contract notice that their contract is ending. So you're still going to have to say to them a week before, your contract will be ending on the 20th of January. And then when we have work again, we'll be back in touch. And if you're available, we'll set up another contract, something like that. I hope that answers part of your question, at least.
So I can just keep extending it then. That's because if I've done it previously, I've just issued a new contract, but it's a bit of a faff issuing a contract every time. Okay, fabulous.
Yeah, but you want to ensure that you're not extending it past 2 years.
Yeah.
because you don't really want 0-hour people on your books for more than 2 years.
To be honest, at the moment, I'm trying not to extend it past 1 year because that's when our full sick pay kicks in.
Okay. I mean, really, the way that these contracts should be used, you shouldn't be going anywhere near a year. What you should be doing is maybe you've employed them for 5 months over the summer, and you go, actually, I need you to stay till the end of December. So now it's 9 months. That's really sort of the maximum that you should be looking at here. And then you should, in your quiet period of maybe January to April, not have them on your books so that you have a good break. So that's something I would suggest that you kind of look at. Also, if you're finding yourself constantly extending these things every month, then your contracts are not set up right. This should be something that maybe you're saying, like I said, maybe you said, look, I've had you on for the winter. We've actually extended it at the end of September to the end of October because we've been quite busy. And actually now I can see I'm going to need you till the end of December. So you're extending again, but that's it. That's okay. But if you have someone that you hired on a 3-month fixed term contract and you've extended it 3 times and 4 times already and you keep extending it every month, there's something not working right there.
Yeah, it's really for those uni students that came in the summer and now they haven't found a job yet, so they're kind of extending it until they find a job, really. So it's helpful for us and helpful for them, but okay.
But that sounds a bit like, and maybe it is the case, but it sounds a bit like the employee is saying to you, I want to extend my contract. That's not a position you should be in as an employer. The decision to contract should be a business decision that comes from you guys. But if we're saying, are you still available? And they go, yeah, I am actually, I'm still looking for a job, then that's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely the manager wanting them over them dictating to us, absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No?
No, I don't think so.
Anything not related to 0 hours? You've got 5 minutes?
No.
All right. Well, have a lovely afternoon and we'll see you next Thursday.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free peace of mind call with us to discuss your policies, handbook, and any burning staff issues in your business, click the link in the description below.